All right, let's jump right in. We're going to step inside this really cool masterclass for trainers, and they're trying to solve a problem that, trust me, every single one of them runs into.
And it really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? You know the drill, you've just wrapped up a training session, the feedback forms, they're all glowing, everyone's smiling. But how do you really know it worked? How do you get past those simple happy sheets and prove that what you did actually changed how someone behaves or taught them a new skill for real?
So to get to the bottom of this, the instructor in this masterclass does something pretty clever. He sets up this awesome experiment, basically a high-pressure design challenge for all the trainers in the room.
Okay, so the instructions sound simple enough on the surface, but this was tough. These are experienced trainers, right? They had to get into groups, choose a business topic, and then design a whole 90-minute hands-on activity for middle managers. And here's the kicker, they only had 5 minutes to pitch the whole thing.
And just to spice things up a bit, each of the 5 teams was handed a different classic learning method to use. So you had one team using role play to teach conflict management, another one was using project-based learning for customer service, and there was even a team trying to use gamification to build empathy. A real mix. So after all these super quick, back-to-back presentations, the instructor throws in a major twist. He tells them, hey, I'm not going to be the judge here. Nope. The teams, they were going to evaluate each other to pick the winner.
And honestly, that twist, that's where the real lesson of the day, the big aha moment, really comes from.
So here was the rule, and it seems simple, right? You score every other team on a scale of 1 to 10. But, and this is the catch, you had to give your own team a perfect 10. You can just feel the competition heating up, can't you? Okay, so they tally up all the scores, and boom. With 42 points, the gamification team is crowned the winner. People are clapping, the team is feeling great, but right in the middle of it, the instructor holds up a hand and pauses everything.
And then he asks this one simple question, a question that just blew the lid off a huge fundamental flaw in how they had done the entire evaluation.
And here it is, the big problem. It turns out every single team basically made up its own secret rules for judging. You had Team A over here focused on things like how slick was the presentation and were the debrief questions any good. But then you had Team B judging on something totally different like how clear were the instructions. It was a total apples to oranges situation.
And this just perfectly highlights the whole issue, doesn't it? Without a common yardstick, a shared standard that everyone agreed on, the results were just gut feelings. It was all subjective. You can't have a fair competition when everyone's playing a different game with different rules.
So, okay, if just going with your gut is so broken, what's the fix? Well, this is when the instructor introduces a beautifully simple but really powerful tool to solve this exact problem. He introduces the rubric.
So what is a rubric? At its core, it's just a standardized tool for evaluation. It takes all that subjective opinion, all that I just felt like, and replaces it with clear, objective, and totally transparent analysis. It's a total game changer, for real.
Let me show you how it works. You can see here how a rubric breaks things down. First, you lay out really clear criteria, things you can actually observe, like message clarity or active listening. Then, and this is key, you describe what different levels of performance actually look like. So, satisfactory listening isn't just a vague idea anymore. It's defined as, say, listens but sometimes misses a key point. All of a sudden, everybody is working from the exact same playbook. No more guesswork.
Okay, so this is the really crucial part. Why does this all matter? Why is making the switch from a simple gut check to a rubric so important in the real world of training?
Well, think about it. A solid rubric solves pretty much every problem we saw back in that classroom challenge. Right off the bat, it gets rid of all the guesswork and bias. It makes sure everyone is being consistent and fair. It gives people super clear, specific feedback they can actually use to get better. And, maybe the most important thing, it anchors your evaluation directly to your learning goals. That means you've got real data to prove your training is actually effective. At the end of the day, it's what takes your evaluation from, yeah, I think that went pretty well, to, here's the proof that it was effective. It's the difference between just hoping your training made a difference and knowing it did.
So, let me leave you with something to chew on. Think about a training activity you use all the time. Maybe it's a sales role play, a presentation skills workshop, or a case study you love. Now ask yourself, how could a simple, clear, objective rubric completely change how you measure success for that activity? How could it help you prove its value once and for all?